Hello and welcome back to iPad Lettering. My name is Karen and I normally say that I'm here to help you get the most out of your iPad, but in this video we are going to talk about the iPhone. So many of you have been asking me to make a Procreate Pocket beginner's guide, and so here it is. This video is for anyone who'd like to learn more about the Procreate Pocket app, what it is good for, and how to use the most important features. I'm going to show you how to make this cute Halloween iPhone wallpaper. And as we are working on this little project, I'll explain how you can use the various Procreate Pocket features. The Procreate Pocket app is available on all iPhones running iOS 13 and later. And this is what the app looks like. You can use this app just with your fingers, but I recommend that you use a stylus because it's a bit easier to see all the lines that you are drawing. If you're curious to find out what the best stylus is for your phone, I've actually got another video where I'm testing out different stylus pens for the phone, and I'll leave a link in the description of this video so that you can check it out. The stylus that I'm using here is a Honsky pen. It's very cheap and I think it works quite nicely. When you first open up the app, you will see the gallery, and this is where all your artwork lives. You can see I've organized my artwork into stacks. So if I tap on one of the stacks, it opens up all the canvases that I have created previously. This is a very nice way to organize all your artwork so that it's easier to find them. The little plus icon here is where you can create a new canvas. So you can tap on this and this brings up the new canvas dialog. You'll see that there's a few predefined canvas settings already, or you can also create a custom size. For the artwork we are going to create today, because it's going to be a phone wallpaper, we're going to choose screen size. And this is nice because it means that the wallpaper will fit your phone perfectly. So we tap on screen size. All right, so now this is the main interface of Procreate Pocket, and I'm just going to walk you through the most important features that you need to know before we start working on the artwork. The first icon that you see here that's already pre-selected, these are your brushes. So you can tap on this and then you have a number of brush sets here on the left, and then here on the right are the brushes inside the brush set. So you can tap on the different brush sets and then that will reveal the brushes inside of those sets. Procreate has a number of predefined brush sets. There's actually lots and lots of different brushes for all sorts of different designs. So I very much encourage you to have a look through all the brushes, and it's really a lot of fun just to play with all the brushes that you might find. And then next up we have the smudging tool, and then when you tap on that, you'll notice that it looks exactly the same as the brushes. And this is because you can use this tool with the same brushes that you would use for painting. And then the same with the eraser tool here. Again, if you tap on it, you have the brushes and you can use all the brushes for erasing as well. And then next up here we have the layers panel, and this is very important. We are always going to work with layers and we're going to work non-destructively, but I will explain to you what this means a little bit later in this video. And then here on the right hand side we have our color palettes. So you have a color wheel here, and then you can also create your own color palettes to choose from. And there is a number of different ways of how you can pick your colors. My favorite way of picking colors is actually this, and I'm very much used to selecting my colors this way. And then here when you tap on the modify button, we have some advanced functionality, but I will show you this once we get into creating our artwork. All right, so now we are going to select a brush. And to start with, I recommend that you use the dry ink brush. This is available from the inking brush set. It's a very nice brush. It's quite soft and it'll really lend itself to painting the little ghost. And we tap done. And then we are also going to create a new layer. See here we've got layer 1, so that's fine. You might also like to create another layer because we're going to add a background later on as well. But for now, this is fine. And then we tap done. And then we're going to select black to start with. And now we're just going to paint this random ghost shape. It's kind of an uneven blob like this, and then we're going to fill this shape with black, and you can do that from just dragging the color swatch into the shape. You need to make sure that the shape is closed, otherwise you'll fill the whole canvas. If this happens to you, then you can 2-finger tap undo, and then you can make sure that all the lines are closed. Maybe you need to just have a little look to make sure they're all closed, and then you can do the same thing again. This is one of the nice things about Procreate Pocket. You can use gestures to undo your work. So 2-finger tap is undo, and then 3-finger tap is redo. So anytime you make a mistake, it's super easy to fix. All right, so now this shape looks kind of okay. It's not quite a ghost shape yet, but we can change this. So now what we're going to do is tap on modify, and then you see here how we've got this magic wand tool. So we tap on this, and this brings up all the adjustments that you have available in the app. To start with, we are going to use the liquify tool, and this is such a cool feature. So you can see here in the first setting here, we have a variety of different liquify modes, and the first one we're going to select is the edge mode, and this now lets us smooth out the lines that we've created. Because it's a little bit difficult to paint on the phone, especially if you have a stylus that doesn't have a precise tip, we need to use some other tricks to make the lines smooth, and the edge tool is perfect. So then in the next tab here, you've got the settings, so you can change the size and also the pressure. I think the size needs to be a little bit bigger, maybe 15%, pressure is 100, and then distortion and momentum are set to 0%. So now we can smooth out the edges. So all we have to do now is kind of follow the lines, and now you can see how we can pull out the edge and make it nice and smooth. And so now you can sort of create the exact ghost shape that you would like. And the nice thing about making a ghost is that it doesn't have to be super precise. So you can just do this until you are happy with your shape. So now we're going to change the tool, and we're going to choose the push mode now. We're also going to decrease the size a little bit. So we're just going to make it maybe, let's see, 9%. And now we're going to drag up here from the bottom to give the ghost this sort of blanket look here. I don't know what you call it. There's a little edges like this. And now the next thing we want to do is create that background. So we can do one of two things. You can either change the background color, and then you can just choose any color that you would like for your background, and then it creates this background, but it's a little bit hard to see because it's not so easy to change. So what we can do instead, we can now choose the first layer, and we can fill this layer with a color. So now we're going to choose maybe this blue, and we're going to fill that whole layer with blue. So now this color I don't like so much, so I want to change it, and there's an easy way to do that, which is much easier than changing the background color. So now we're going to go back to our adjustments, and this time we're going to select the hue, saturation, and brightness sliders. And this is probably one of my most favorite and most used tools, because now you can adjust the hue of your background, and you can choose any color that you like. You can also change the saturation here, and then you can choose the brightness. So really you can dial in any color that you like for the background for your ghost. And then I actually want the ghost to be white and not black. So let me show you how you can do that as well. So now we're going to go back, and we're going to select the layer that has the black ghost on it. And now what we're going to do is alpha lock this layer. So you tap on the layer thumbnail, and you see here how there is a secondary menu popping up, and it's got the alpha lock feature here. And once you select that, you can see that it's got this checkered background. And this means that only the pixels that already have color on the screen will be able to get changed. So now we're going to tap done, and then we're going to choose white, and then we're going to go back to the layers panel, and now tap on the layer thumbnail and then fill layer. So now this is going to change that ghost to white, and there we have a white ghost. And the reason why it's so easy is because we have two layers. We have one layer with the background, and then we have another layer with the ghost. If we had painted them on the same layer, you wouldn't be able to do this. That's why it's so important to always choose new layers. So now we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to choose a new layer, and now we're going to draw their eyes. So now what we can do here for the eyes, you can hold down the stylus, and you can see here now how it says edit shape. So this is the quick shape tool, and this lets you create custom shapes. So when you tap on this, you can see here now we can choose between ellipse, quadrilateral, and line. So now we can adjust the eye of the ghost to anything we want. We can make it wide or small or whatever we want. But this is a super handy feature, again, because it's really hard to make straight lines and not wobbly lines on the phone. This feature is super handy. And then we are going to fill this shape again. So we've got one eye down. Now what we want to do is create another eye, and the easiest way to do that is just to duplicate this layer. So we're going to go duplicate and then done. And now in the modify menu, you've got this black arrow tool, and this is your layer selection tool. So this selects all the contents of the layer, and now you can move this around any way you want. But now I think the eyes are a little bit too big. So what we're going to do now is group these two layers so we can move them at once. And in order to create a group of layers, you can select both layers. You can see now there's a dark blue and there's a slightly lighter blue layer, and then we can tap on group layers, and now we have this group. So we can twirl it open to see what's inside the group, and we can close it again. And now if we go back to that black arrow tool, we can change both at the same time. We can also resize the layers now, so we can just make it a bit smaller. We can change the shape, so we can make these ghost eyes a little bit cuter. And so now I think the eyes are a little bit too close together, but because we've got this layer group, I can select one of the eyes, and then I can move this a little bit further this way. So now we also want to give the ghost a little bit of a shadow. So now what we're going to do is duplicate the ghost layer. So I'm going to duplicate this, and then we are going to change the opacity of this layer a little bit. It's now not visible, but I will show you in a second what this looks like. So now what we're going to do is go to adjustments and then go to opacity, and now you can see here how it says slide to adjust. And now we're going to change this to about 40%, and then select the layer, and now we're going to pull it out a little bit. So now you can see ever so slightly there's a shadow coming out below the ghost. Now we're going to transform this layer a little bit, and we're going to use that warp tool for this. Now we can just create this shadow and make it a little bit bigger. And then the next thing we're going to do is write boo here at the bottom, and there's two ways of doing that. Of course, we're going to create a new layer at the top to start with, and the first way of doing this is just writing the word. So you can choose any brush that you like, and let's have a look in the calligraphy brush set to see what types of brushes we have. So there's a large variety of different brushes that you can try out. I'm going to use the script brush, and so now we're going to write boo here. This is not super easy. It's definitely much easier to do this on the iPad, but you know, it's a ghost, so it doesn't have to be super precise. So you can just write boo like this. It's pretty cool. And then we're going to select this. You can just adjust this. You can see here there's a green handle, so you can rotate your shape like this, and then you can place it. And so now what we're going to do is maybe warp this a little bit as well, and this time I'm going to choose advanced mesh. So this is now going to give me some additional nodes that I can adjust for a little bit more precision and to make this a little bit more ghostly. So this is one way of writing boo, but then you can do another way as well. So now we're going to go and create another new layer, and I want to keep this layer, but I don't want it to be visible right now. So what we can do now is turn the visibility of this layer off. It's got this checkbox here, and if you uncheck this checkbox, it'll turn the visibility of the layer off. But we've got the new layer selected. So now what we're going to do is use the text tool. Now tap on the wrench and then go to actions, add, and you can see here there's a number of things that you can add to your canvas. You can insert a file, photo, you can take a photo, and you can add text, and this is what we're going to do. So now we tap on this, and then we can add text. So now we're just going to write boo again. And so this might not be the font that you like, but now you can double tap, and then you can go edit style, and now you can choose any font that you already have on your phone. I think this Jack Armstrong font is quite cool for this type of lettering. So you're going to choose bold, italic, and then here in the design tab you can change the size if you want. And then there's all sorts of other settings as well, which we're not going to use right now. And then here in the attributes, you can do some different alignments if you like. You can outline the text if you like. And then we can arrange this here at the bottom like this. So this is another way to add text, but I actually prefer my handwritten text. So we're going to turn this layer off, and then we are going to turn this layer back on. So now the next thing we're going to do is do some shading. So we are going to create another new layer, and this time we're going to do it at the bottom of the stack. So we're just going to go to the background layer, which is the pink layer. We tap new layer, and now we are going to choose an airbrush for this. We're just going to choose the soft brush, which will be fine, and the black color. And now we're going to add a little shadow here, and we want to blur this out. So you tap on modify, and then in the adjustments you have Gaussian blur. So you select Gaussian blur, and then here it says slide to adjust. So we're going to slide this to the right like this to blur this out. So you can see it gets quite quite blurry, but now this is a little bit big. So now we're gonna choose the black arrow tool and we're gonna make this a bit smaller. You just want a hint of a shadow just to give the impression that this is floating. And then we're also gonna decrease the opacity a little bit. So tap on opacity, and then we're gonna bring this down ever so slightly. You know, you just want a tiny little shadow, and then I think it looks good. So now we're gonna go back to the layers panel, and then above your ghost layer, add a new layer. And this time we are going to create a clipping mask. So you tap on the layer thumbnail and then you tap on clipping mask. This is a different version of filling a shape. You could fill the ghost layer directly, but because we want to work non-destructively, we're going to use the clipping mask. And what that means is any pixels that you put on this layer only get applied to the ghost. I'll show you what this means. So now we are going to choose a different brush, and we're going to the touch ups brush set, and then you can select the noise brush here. And now we can paint in a little bit of a shadow to the ghost as well. One of the things I haven't shown you yet is how to change the size of the brush. You can see here there's two sliders. The top one changes the size of the brushes, so you can slide it up to make it bigger and then slide it down to make it smaller. In this case we want to make it very big. And then the bottom slider here is for the opacity. So the further up it goes, the more opaque your brush is, and the further down you pull it, the more transparent it is. So we don't want this to be too opaque, so we're going to drag this down quite a lot. And so now we can paint in a little bit of a shadow here. And now this is quite intense, so we're going to change the opacity of this layer as well. Tap on modify and then adjustments, opacity, and now we can ever so slightly turn the opacity down. So we only want to have ever so slight shadow like this. And then you can see here that the ghost shadow comes through a bit too much as well, so we can adjust this. We're going to select the layer with the shadow, and then we can adjust this a little bit. I'm just going to choose the warp tool again and bring this back, and now it looks much better. All right, and here is our ghost wallpaper done. So the only thing we need to do now is export this so that we can use it as a wallpaper, and that's very easy to do as well. You tap on modify, and then you can see that we've got this share icon here, and you'll also see that there is a variety of different formats that we can use to share this image. I recommend that you choose JPEG or PNG, either of them will work fine, and then you can use the image as your wallpaper. So now you tap on save image, and then we're done. All right, so this is a very short intro into Procreate Pocket. I really hope you found this tutorial useful. It would be awesome if you could give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And then I'm also going to bloop up another couple of videos with Procreate Pocket tutorials so that you can try out your newly learned skills and also create some different projects. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.